Cooking with Irene. Hi, are you the new babysitter? That's cool. I think I'm too old for a babysitter, but whatever, it's better than being by myself, I guess. Oh hey, look, it's almost time for my favourite show. You want to watch it with me? It's not one of those stupid kids shows. I'm a lot smarter than other kids. I like to learn grown-up stuff. That's why my favourite show is a cooking show. I always learn something new when I watch it. It's called Cooking with Irene. Irene is this really awesome lady. She's old and she has white hair and she reminds me of my nana. My nana died last year, but Irene is nice like she was. You'll see. She wears an apron and everything. She says it's really important to wear an apron when you cook because you can sometimes get really messy. Irene gets messy all the time. It's pretty funny. What channel? No, silly, it's not on the TV, it's on the computer. My mom and dad let me use the computer pretty much as I want because I learn stuff on there. They said it will help me in school. I guess it does. I don't really know. But that's where Irene's show is. At the beginning of every episode, she says, "Hello everyone, it's Irene here." And then she thanks us all for watching and for coming back again and again. And I guess people give her money and stuff. She thanks us for donations. And then she gets all excited and says, "Let's get cooking." So then these guys come out, right? They're like her assistants or whatever. They're big guys with really serious faces all the time. They don't really talk or do anything except what Irene tells them. And these guys bring on all of the ingredients. That's what Irene calls them. They're people. Sometimes guys, sometimes ladies. They're all tied up and have their mouths covered. They always look really scared. I think it's because they know what's about to happen. So these guys bring them on and they put each one in a different cooker. That's what Irene calls the chairs that she uses. She puts a thing down on each ingredient's head. It looks like one of those metal bowls my nana had. That's another thing that reminds me of her. She would make me a cake using those bowls. I miss her cake. So then, when each of the ingredients is in one of the cookers, Irene turns back to the camera and says, "Vote now." And you see the three choices, with the number of votes adding up under each one. After a while, someone will get the most votes. And then Irene will say, "Excellent choice," or something like that. And then she walks over to the one that got the most votes and tells them they've won. No one ever seems happy to be the winner. Next, she flips a switch and they get cooked. That's always my favourite part. They shake and move all crazy. There's smoke and sometimes fire. I love it. Irene says it always smells so good in there. I wish I could smell it. I bet it smells like my nana's kitchen used to on Thanksgiving. Anyway, when the person's done cooking, Irene tells her assistants to bring out the dogs. That's one of the coolest things about this show, I think. Irene doesn't cook for people, she cooks for dogs. The assistants bring out two really big dogs on chain leashes and they hold them steady until Irene gives the signal. When she yells for the dogs to be released, they run and jump all over the cooked ingredient. They tear the person to little pieces. It's really cool. You can see all the blood and stuff, and I think you can see muscles too. Sometimes even guts. The uncooked ingredient always wiggles around when the dogs are eating. Sometimes they get bitten too. It's always neat when that happens. See, I do learn a lot from this show. It's how I learned that dogs eat people. The sad part is that after the dogs eat, the show is pretty much all over. Irene says thanks for watching, and if we know of any fresh ingredients she could use, to let her know. I really wish it was longer. Oh well, I guess. What's the matter? You look all funny. You're not going to call me a liar, are you? I hate it when people call me a liar. That's what the last babysitter did. So I told Irene she could use her as an ingredient. It was cool because Irene wrote back real quick and asked me where she lived. I told her, and she must have liked her. Because my mom and dad couldn't get a hold of her this week to stay with me. That's why you're here. Condemned, the abandoned building. They know I'm typing this. Hell, it's only a matter of time before they break through my window or through my door and destroy all the lights and claim me like they did my friends. But people must know about the things that live in that building. It was a week ago. My friends, Charlie, Anderson and Claire and I decided to look up the haunted history of our town in Versailles, Indiana. And to our surprise, we found some document about an old abandoned house that is deep in the woods, hidden behind the trailer park that was condemned because of some massacre that happened inside. The story said that creatures of unknown origin were believed to reside within the building that were once the building's original creators, but after its creation, something happened to them. They wouldn't allow anyone inside, and the story got pretty gory, saying people who attempted to enter the building had their limbs removed and bite marks on their bodies. But as for the people who went inside, they were never seen again. Of course, us being at that age where we think we can do whatever we want, and also think that old tales like this one were complete bullshit, we decided to find this building and discover what was inside. Damn it. If only we would have left it alone, never looked for the damn building in the first place, and just stayed home. We would all be home with our families and alive. But no. We went into the forest and looked for the condemned building so that we could satisfy our need to know what they kept inside that was so terrible that they resulted in killing people. We spent hours going through those woods in our quest to find the damn place, but didn't find anything until sunset. As we climbed our way up the steep hills to a large fence with the gates chained together, with the sign saying, "Condemned, do not enter," painted in all red letters. The feeling I had just standing at the gate made my spine crawl. The silence as the twilight began to hit the wilderness, the cool air that blew gently against my face. I knew just being there in front of that gate was a bad omen, a curse for anyone with intent on going beyond it and daring to face what lies within the confines of the building. I tried to tell everyone we should turn back, but they just wouldn't listen to me. I tried to make excuses for why we should head home, but to no avail, as they climbed the fence, saying I was being a pansy. God, had I just gone home? We followed the trail behind the fence that led to an old broken down building with branches of trees going through broken windows and vines covering the front gateway. The damn place gave me the creeps, and I begged for us to turn back and head home, but still they persisted and opened the dry, rotten doors that opened up to a black abyss. That door, when it was opened, I could hear them whispering. I could feel them staring at me. I could feel them smiling at me as we walked inside the darkness to investigate the building. Anderson looked at me and said if I was going to piss myself, I better head home to Mommy, with Charlie backing him up by saying I didn't have the balls to look around. I was too damn stubborn to listen to my gut and leave. I should have left and just went home, but I knew Claire would stay with them if I went home. I thought I could. I'm sorry, Claire. We went around the place with only the sunlight of the front door and the light beaming in from the windows to see. We walked down the large and dark empty space to find shelves with jars of different sizes lined up neatly. If only we could have seen what was in them, we would have run away, but by then it would have been too late. Claire found a book on a podium in the middle of the room and began to read it aloud for us to hear. The book said the following: "We have tried to escape them, but they only laugh at us as we wander, lost in this abyss. We tried to scream for help, but they bit into our throats to silence us. We tried to run from them, but they are too fast for us. They know we will fail. They know we will cry to be freed, and they know that we will finally give up all hope and wait for them to carve at our flesh and slowly devour our bodies and drain us of our blood. May any who find this and read its words have peace with God, for they already are now watching you." The door slammed shut at those last words, and the light outside faded into shadow as night had damned our chances of escape. Claire was the first one. I could only hear her scream before I heard the horrific noise of bones being broken and the sounds of guts being spilled to the floor. I stood still in hopes that whatever the hell was in the dark couldn't see me. Hours went by before I heard Anderson yell as the sound of flesh being torn from his body could be heard in the shadows, and then a loud crack from his bones. I felt myself want to scream. I wanted to run, but I didn't move. I stayed still in hopes that they wouldn't find me. It wasn't until just before the sky became blue again that I could hear Charlie scream for me, as a loud snap could be heard, and then the sound of a blood-curdling roar from somewhere within the darkness, along with the whispers and screeches of other things. Somewhere in the dark, I knew I was all that was left. And it was just before the sun was about to peek inside the building that I could hear the whispers silently growing closer, and the laughter of the creatures that dwelled in the shadows. I thought for sure I was a goner when the sun finally shined upon me through one of the broken windows, and I could hear the screaming and screeching of the beasts as they ran from the light. The door opened and I ran outside and got the hell out of there. But now they're outside my house. I can hear them whispering now as I type this to let people know what happened, because right now they're outside my bedroom door, waiting for me to sleep. And that's it for tonight, my little hellhounds. Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed tonight's scary stories and would like your stories narrated on the channel, then submit them to Reddit r/homeofscares and follow me on Twitter at homeofscares. Don't forget to like the video, click subscribe, and click that bell icon so you get notified every time I upload. Now, good night, my little hellhounds.